trying to make it bigger.
Got it, thanks.
Now you got the good life, right?
I hope so. Wait, may not think so.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the December 17th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Here.
Chaplewski.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Probst.
Here.
Reinke. Here. Rote.
Here.
9 present, unexcused.
We have a quorum. Alderman Vitale will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 3 items before us for public hearing this evening. I'll ask the clerk to read number 1.
A hearing on the amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 2013 relative to creating a slum and blight removal project with a budget not to exceed $100,000.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The state legislature recently enacted some new legislation that allows the county not to reimburse the city for demolition projects like they have in the past until the properties are sold. What we're trying to accomplish here is to provide a funding mechanism so that we can continue to still demolish dilapidated properties, but yet have a funding source so that if and when the properties are sold and there isn't enough money in the sale of the property to reimburse the city, at least the regular taxpayer does not have to pay for that. If there are additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the council on this?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May.
just a point of clarification. When we say contingencies, that's not the city's contingency fund, that's the CDBG contingency fund. I just want to make that clear.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience? Seeing none, we will close public hearing number 1, and I will ask our clerk to read our second public hearing.
A hearing on the special use permit for proposed additional antennas at existing U.S. Cellular Telecommunications Tower located at 1865 South 66th Street.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On south of Mitchell Street and west of 66th Street is the old industrial factory area, and in the southern corner are actually 2 cell towers. This is the older cell tower. To co-locate an additional cell tower currently requires a public hearing, and that's the purpose of this public hearing tonight. The legislature has also passed some additional legislation that will allow us to only hold a public hearing for a new cell tower itself. Historically, we've used these to bring up a site such as this here where they have outdoor boat storage and rubble and dirt piled to get those cleaned up before they can get their special use. We will still use the traditional methods of code enforcement to accomplish that. It just takes a little bit longer. The Planning Commission has reviewed this and has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If you have additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there questions from the Common Council on this item? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 2, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 3.
A hearing on the special use permit to expand the business operating hours for Just Like Mommy CCC, a child daycare facility located at 7330 West Lincoln Avenue.
Mr. Stiebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is was formerly a U.S. Post Office. It's currently being operated as a daycare facility, and the principal purpose of this tonight is to amend the hours. But because it is a daycare facility, it has unique traffic patterns. That's why we have it as a special use. The hours of operation are currently 6 a.m. To 6 p.m. 7 days a week. The proposed hours are 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., and this is designed to help accommodate second shift workers. I think we have about 5 or 6 additional daycares in the city that have very similar hours. the infants are infant to 12 years old. The license is for 72, and the licensure is a function of how much space they have, but their staffing is going to be for about 60. Most of the employees, I think they have about 16 during the day and about 10 in the night shift because it's a smaller crew. There'll be the additional landscaping. There won't be any additional landscaping, but the landscaping that's there is getting older, tired, and as part of this special use change, we'll just require them to refresh what they've already agreed to do. The Park Commission has reviewed this recommendation, has recommended approval. If you have any additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there questions from the council on public hearing number 3?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel.
John, so they're open till 11:30, and their play area is on the north side of the building facing the alley. Do we have an idea? I mean, are kids playing outside? Would they have kids out there that late? Do we know? Or
Their outdoor play area is a requirement of the licensure.
I understand.
And there's actually quite a bit of play area. You can't see it from this view. But there's a whole stretch in the back here that is also fenced in with a board-on-board fence. So,
I'm just worried about late night noise, like on a spring evening or a summer evening where neighbors have their windows open and there's a bunch of kids out there at 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30 at night playing. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious. I'm wondering how that's going to be dealt with. I mean, our nuisance noise ordinance would still apply.
All of those ordinances would apply, and if it becomes a nuisance, we can bring them back in for a revocation or reduction in the special use.
Okay.
So we still have quite a bit of tools available to us to be responsible and act fairly quickly.
Right. And also, do they use buses? Do they have like a little vans, do we know, or a diesel bus for field trips or that kind of stuff? Or is it mostly the kids stay, or like for picking and dropping off, or do we know anything about that?
I am unaware of that they have a bus. I can't say that they do or don't. I will find out before recess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there any other questions or comments from the Common Council on this item?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Probst.
John, looking at that drawing, where is the traffic pattern for drop-off and pickup? Is there a driveway, circle driveway, or are they going to be using 73rd Street and Lincoln Avenue?
They'll be using Lincoln Avenue, 73rd Street, and their parking lot.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience on this item? If you could come up to the podium here with the microphone. And we ask that you please state your name and address for our record and then sign in before or after your comments. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Michael Cokes. I am part owner as far as in the leasing of this property here at 73rd in Lincoln. And just addressing the question concerning the hours of children being outside, it is standard policy from our daycare and as far as from the state licensing. Children are allowed to be out as far as in the evening time. Normally we are back in by 7 o'clock. They have to be inside, whether it was, summertime, wintertime, if the weather was permitting. And also because of where it's located at, we are within 1 block, I believe, of the elementary school. So during the summertime hours, when school is generally out for all of the schools, the children would also go down to the playground area and play, as opposed to just being directly in the back, even though it is a designated area for them to play in. But over the last 6 years that we have been in business, we never allow any of the children to be out at that time of night, just for safety reasons and also because of the amount of noise that children will make when they're playing. And we're trying to settle them back down, make sure that they have eaten and that they are prepared so their parents can come pick them up, as opposed to, they're still pretty high strung at that time. The traffic is normally dropped off on the parking lot, which is, I guess, facing to our left from the direction that we looked at, and they would be entering in from the front door entrance, or they would be dropped off right there on Lincoln Avenue, or picked up, parking behind the no parking sign, which is a designated area, which is at the end of the building, which is just in front of the house, which is located just to the right of it. Okay, so get to the east of it.
Okay. Alderman Probst?
Oops, Mayor Devine. And my only reason for wanting to know about the drop-off is as we head into the zoo interchange issues, Lincoln Avenue is going to be far more traveled than it is now.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at whether or not there's no parking signs or so that there's a drop-off on Lincoln. I guess I don't want parents, when they're trying to drop off,
Sure.
to double park while they just run a kid in kind of thing.
Right.
You're going to block up a very
We have
important lane of traffic.
a procedure that we're going to be going through with the parents as they come to enroll, that we would prefer for them to use the parking lot area. And once they come in the parking lot, they can just walk along the side of the building and come directly inside. Our transportation, we do not use diesel vehicles whatsoever because in the wintertime, they're no good. We use just standard SUV vans as far as the transportation, and the transportation that we're going to be applying in this case, children will only be taken from the daycare to school and then back to the daycare. We will not be transporting children at this point in time to their various destinations going home. So the transportation is going to be very limited.
All right. I think we're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the audience? Seeing none, we will close our third public hearing, and we will move on to item E on your agendas, citizen participation. It's an opportunity for residents to address the council on any matters of interest to them. Is there anybody who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Again, we ask that you state your name and address.
Sure.
Sign in.
Yeah, Mike Debelak, I'm with Michael's Paving out of Brownsville, Wisconsin. I'm here to talk about the conditional use permit for the batch plant that we've requested. I just have a brief statement, if you will. Michael's has applied for a conditional use permit for the siting of a concrete batch plant on the northwest corner of the Quad Graphics site. The plant is specific for Michael's use during a 1 to 3 year period in which the zoo interchange and many adjacent roadways will be reconstructed, upgraded, reconfigured, and improved. We will not sell commercially, nor will we operate continuously throughout the season. In fact, we will not operate at all during the winter months. The improvements which are part of the reconstruction program will allow for a free-flowing transportation system, saving hundreds and thousands of dollars in lost congestion and fuel consumption each year. It will make our lives much easier and exponentially safer. It will stimulate the economy and bring new business into West Dallas. Everyone in this room will use it to some capacity, and many of us each and every day. This application is an allowable use on the property as outlined by your zoning ordinance. Michaels has cooperated with the city planners to submit an application that meets the letter of this ordinance. In fact, Michaels has agreed to 9 pages of conditions and restrictions which are not listed in the ordinance, but have been imposed by zoning staff and aldermen. While we agree that the city has the right to impose these conditions, as long as they're reasonable, we also recognize that the city cannot use overly restrictive and onerous conditions to prohibit an allowable use. Michaels has been creative and found solutions to nearly all of the issues brought before us, and including and not limited to not using the designated truck route which lies adjacent to this property. At every turn, Michaels has been accommodating to the wishes of the city, except for 2 unreasonable conditions. The city has restricted the hours of operation to not allow for night paving. The DOT may require within the contract that some traffic-sensitive portions of the interchange be paved at night. The reasons are simple. to limit congestion and to provide a safer project for the workers and the traveling public. We do not know if, when, or how much night paving will be required until we see the proposals, but we need to have the ability to use this site at night if required. The city has requested us to pave all parking, loading areas, and drives which are currently gravel areas on the property, and not just the ones within our areas of operation. The surface condition of the areas not impacted nor used by our operations have no bearing on this proposal and should not be subject to the perusal. Additionally, we feel this condition is overly restrictive and extremely onerous to this application. I have been applying for permits for batch plants and quarries and gravel pits for a long time. While I have seen opposition on many applications, Michaels has always been able to work with the municipality and make reasonable conditions that we could both live with. This is, after all, a temporary use.
Let's discuss.
And in all of those previous applications, we have proved time and time again that we are a good operator and responsive to the concerns of the community. In fact, we have provided 2 recommendations to the city from local governments where we have recently cited plants. There will never be an application where there's 100% concurrence from the residents. Be it a McDonald's, a Harley dealership, or a truck repair shop, there will always be a few individuals who would rather see an Arby's, a B&W dealership, or perhaps nothing at all. But the fact is that this council has an obligation to vote the voice of the entire city. The entire city will benefit from the build of the Zoo Interchange project. Michaels is trying to do the right thing by working with the city on this application and allow a partnership that both parties can live with. And I ask the council to do likewise and vote for this application without the 2 overly restrictive conditions that I have previously outlined. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening?
I will go. Hello.
Hello.
I am Pam Zorko, and I am with the West Dallas Parade Committee. So we just wanted to stop by tonight to thank the city for your support and sponsorship of the West Dallas Christmas Parade that we had last week Saturday, which was super frigid. Not last week Saturday, the first Saturday of December. Wanted to thank our presenting sponsor, Waterstone Bank, and then 2 of our other top sponsors, the Rotary Club of West Dallas and, of course, the City of West Dallas. We want to thank the committee, who are all volunteers on the parade committee, and for their time and commitment, because a lot of work went into putting together the city's parade. And although there were a lot of people that stayed away because it was cold, it was still a wonderfully awesome parade, and we could not have done it without the committee as well as the participants and volunteers. The volunteers, especially from Epic Coast Church, were phenomenal. They cleaned up the street after, and they were just fabulous and did a whole bunch of other things, so we want to thank them. And then also, again, the City of West Dallas and the Department of Public Works. So thank you so much for your cooperation and collaboration. It was a great parade, and we will see you again next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation and move on to item F. On your agendas, our standing committees will be meeting during recess, and those room numbers are on the top of page 2 on your agendas. Next, we'll go on to item G, the mayor's report. Pam gave out a lot of thanks, but she didn't really give herself any kudos, so first thing I wanted to do was thank everybody on the committee, as well as the sponsors and volunteers, for both the tree lighting ceremony and the community sing-along, as well as the parade. It was brutally cold, but a lot of people did show up, and it was a success. And I heard the Girl Scouts at the coffee shop sold out of hot chocolate, so that was a win, too. Also related to the holidays, I had a really special visit this week from a young person in our community. An 8-year-old by the name of Sierra was collecting her chore money to donate to our Veterans Giving Tree, and her parents had matched her dollar for dollar, and she came in just glowing with 2 huge bags of gifts that her and her family had come together and provided, and that restored my faith in humanity and really kind of coined Christmas all in a 10-minute visit from an 8-year-old. Last night, the police department had their neighborhood partnership meeting at the police department, and I know Alderman Rote was there, and Alderman Weigel was there, and Judge Murphy, and a lot of residents and members of the Youth Commission were also there. It was a very well-attended, very good meeting that covered a wide range of topics, but the one thing that I took with me yet once again is that people in this community are still making it way too easy for criminals. We have more than half of our break-ins could be prevented by just locking your door or closing your garage door or not leaving your GPS or your iPads and your cell phones sitting on the front seat or the dashboard of your car. I know this is something that I've talked about in my inaugural address a couple years ago. I can't tell you enough, and now with the Christmas season upon us, the same thing goes for all the presents you buy. Don't just leave those gifts sitting open in the back seat. It's a 15-second smash and grab crime that can be easily prevented by putting them in the trunk. I want to also mention on New Year's Eve, the Community Alliance Against Drugs will once again be hosting their family night at West Allis Central. They've been doing this for several years. They show a movie, they have food and a DJ in the cafeteria, they have inflatable rides. It's a great family-friendly event. I believe it starts around 6 o'clock, but we'll have information on the city website. I think that's all I have for the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any reports from the alderman?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
Winter is upon us, and the Friends of La Follette Park are at it again. They have decided to flood the basketball court area of the park of their own will this year, and they do have an ice rink now open, and actually they've got manned hours within the pavilion itself where there will be adults there watching and keeping track of things. So want to encourage people to get out and use that. West Allis used to have ice skating rinks all over the place, and now Friends of La Follette Park are starting to bring that back. So you can look for their hours on friendsoflafollettepark.org or find them on Facebook, and they've been posting their hours weekly of what they'll be for each week. Also a reminder with snow removal. I know it's not fun to get out with the shovel and move snow, but it's incredibly difficult for those in wheelchairs, with walkers, and those who are of limited mobility. A lot of them do not drive. A lot of them need to walk corner to corner and across businesses and across areas that are not being cleared with snow. And so I would like to remind everyone to please, think about your neighbor. This is a community. Get out, clean that corner, help a neighbor, help a friend. Just please take care of your snow removal. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other reports from the alder people this evening?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Probst.
I would just like to follow up on what Alderman May said by reminding everyone that if you live in front of a fire hydrant, you need to make sure that that gets shoveled out as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I say in front?
Any other alderpersons' reports?
I meant behind the fire hydrant, not in front of it. That would be the street.
Alderman Reinke.
Just a reminder, if you've signed up to purchase a gift for a veteran, they have to be in by tomorrow. I will be organizing them on Thursday, and on Friday we will be wrapping. And then on Sunday we will be delivering them. So please get your gifts to the mayor's office by tomorrow. Also, I'd like to publicly thank my celebration members who manned Santa's Cafe. Santa's Cafe was successful as the parade was. It was our first time adventure into this role, and I want to publicly thank also Tom Miller from Steakhouse 100 and Ted Medicki from Piggly Wiggly for their support and their contribution to our cafe as well. We did enjoy serving our public, and I'm sure the public enjoyed having the hot chili and the hot dogs and the cocoa and the coffee that we offered that evening. It was a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there any other reports from the Alder people this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel.
Okay, so I'm going to pile on the snow story. Just a reminder, when you shovel your snow, don't shovel it from your sidewalk onto your neighbor's sidewalk or in the alley from your parking space onto your neighbor's parking space, because that's not going to make your neighbor happy. And also, don't shovel it out into the alley. You just make extra work. The alley may be plowed. You might end up with an icy spot, and it's against the law. So that's. I think we're done with the snow report for today.
I think we have 6 more aldermen that have not commented on snow yet. So. Any other reports from the Alder people this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of December 3rd, 2013.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Probst. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item J, I'll ask for a motion to place item 4 on file and refer items 5 and 6 to the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman May, second by Alderman Barzak. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Standing committee reports. Under item K, we have the Safety and Development Committee. Alderman Lysick.
Mayor Devine. I refer you to items 7, which is to be adopted as amended, 8 to be placed on file, 9 to be adopted as amended, and 10 to be placed on file. Acted upon favorably by all 4 members of the committee present, I move for the adoption of the committee report on those items.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
I then refer you to items 11 and 12 on your agenda. Item 11 is the resolution relative to determination of special use for Michaels Corporation for a batch plant and associated trucking operations on a portion of the Quad Graphics site located at 555 South 108th Street and 11000 West Theodore Trecker Way. And item 12 is the application itself. The committee recommendation is to adopt as amended, and that was acted and to place communication on file, acted upon favorably by 3 members of the committee, 1 member opposing. I move for adoption of the committee report on those items.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Seeing Alderman Weigel.
Not asking to go into the details of all the amendments, but do I understand that we still have 2 major sticking points as brought up during public comment?
That is correct. Michaels Corporation has met the concerns of the aldermen of the district, the committee, and the neighbors on all the points in question. The 2 points that Michaels does not agree with the committee's recommendations and what is in the resolution are, again, the prohibition of operations during nighttime hours, and also the requirement that Quad Graphics pave the unpaved portion of the parking lot.
So would it be my understanding that if we vote in the affirmative, they could still bid on the contract and then they would be required to do the paving, they would not be able to work at night, and perhaps some other contractor would pick up the night work? Is that, or would be subbed out? Is that just a possibility here?
That is correct, Alderman Weigel.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Probst.
To be clear, when we talk about the fact that there is no nighttime operations, we're referring to this being after 10 p.m. So 7 to 10, which is considered night, that's still allowed, but after 10 p.m. we're asking for this not to continue. Correct?
Could I see the resolution? I just want to make sure if you're,
I believe that we allowed the hours to be 7 a.m. till 10 p.m.
just want to double check before I
Yep.
say yes.
Sounds pretty reasonable.
Should be item number 6.
No, I'm not looking at item 6. No, it's not item 6.
Item number 14.
No, so there's a whole column. Hours of operation would be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Saturday, with deliveries restricted even beyond that.
Correct. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Vitale?
Aye.
Weigel?
Aye.
Barzak?
No.
Chapletsky?
Aye.
Lysick?
Aye.
May?
No.
Probst?
Aye.
Ranky?
Aye.
Rote?
Aye.
7 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries.
That's all, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman. Moving on to item L on our agendas, we have a motion for reconsideration.
Mayor Devine.
Reconsideration, rather. Alderman Chapletsky.
I'd like to make a motion to have item number 13 for reconsideration and move back into the committee, License Health Committee.
The motion with a second by Alderman Weigel. Any discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May.
I always ask on these, what's the reason for the motion to reconsider?
We had, when she came in front of us, we denied her, and we asked, she explained that one of her police reports was improper, and so she supplied us with that police report, and we told her if she get us that information, that we will, reconsider it. So that's the main reason. She got us the information, and that's why we're doing it.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Reinke. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.